Hello, everybody. Welcome to Uncommon Analysis. This video are the four biggest losers, or what I feel are the four biggest losers coming out of the 2024 election. And I'm going to run through them here in a minute. And before I do, though, I'm going to do the obligatory solicitation. If you find this kind of content interesting, please subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. And if you like this video, please like it and share with others. So here we are. What I believe are the top four losers coming out of the 2024 election. Not surprising, based on the video you're looking at the screen, I think number one were the Obamas. The Obamas, if they should be certainly be losing a lot of influence in the party. They're not the sole ones to blame. That's why they're number four, not number one. But the identity politics they brought with them and pushed during their years created a lot of the divisiveness that has happened. And it's clear, based on the outcome of this election, they do not have the influence they once had. They are not as popular. They are not carrying the weight that they did, and they're out of touch. They're grossly out of touch. If the Democratic Party does not distance themselves from the Obamas, I know, don't get me wrong, I know the Obamas are not going away, right? He's still a rock star in certain quarters. But if the Obamas still carry the same weight that they have currently in the Democratic Party, the Democrats are going to keep losing. And I think people are waking up to that. Um, anyway, here you go. This is Obama chastising using the identity politics that helped bring him to power, because that's part of the reason the Democratic Party is in the way it is in the place it is and why they lost so badly, and they're going to probably continue to lose if they keep on the path, is because they completely embraced and went overboard with identity politics. Everybody's just a member of a group. Here he is. He's chastising blacks for not supporting Kamala. Because a black person can't possibly not support Kamala. She's one of them. How could they ever not believe and support him? Here's him chastising the entire community, particularly black men. And as we know, it didn't work all that well.
We have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences.
Okay, so there you go. I'm not going to keep going because it's about a minute or too long, and I don't want to waste that time in this video. But if you get it, there's Obama chastising black people in particular, black men, I'm sorry, black people in general, and black men, young black men in particular, for not supporting Kamala simply because she's melanin, has the same higher level of melanin in her skin as they do. This is insane, but it's basically plays into number three. So the number three big loser is going to be identity politics. Now, I know identity politics are not going away, but they took a huge hit because Kamala's entire campaign was centered around two things: uh, Orange Man Bad and the general identity politics of the Democratic Party, which have been in play now for about 20 years, and they need to go away. It's divisive, it's counterproductive, it does not work long term. They've relied on it for longer, 20 years, but in 20 years, the first 20 years in particular, have been very, very insanely identity politics driven. So it took a big hit. And, remember, let's face it, this was supposed to be, um, you know, Harris was supposed to do great. She was doing better with women, all these little groups she's supposed to do better with. It didn't play out that way, but that's what they thought. Here we are, CNN, maybe about 3 weeks before the election, talking about, well, by then it was pretty obvious the coalition was cracking, but they were still talking about these various groups. And here's how the women were going to save it, right? Abortion was going to do it. White women were going to save it. It's going to be this. Still talking about groups of people rather than policies or anything else.
Why? Why? I think that this gets at a pretty good reason why. All right. Abortion is the top voting issue. We're going to look at Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, on average, where 80% or north of the voters are white. Look at this. The percentage of women who say that abortion is the top voting issue come November, 27%. Look at this gender gap. Among men in those states, it's just 7%. I think what we're talking about here is after Roe v. Wade was overturned in 2022, white women in the suburban areas, in these key battleground states, have very much turned against Republicans. And we're seeing in the polling right now, because Kamala Harris is doing historically well, at least this century, for a Democratic candidate among white women. And of course, they make up a very large portion of the electorate. If she wins, it could ultimately be because she did so well with white women, John.
As we said, big shifts with.
Now, it's important to note here, Kamala actually underperformed Biden with women. Exit polling out of ABC News showed that Kamala underperformed by 4 points Biden's place with women. Yet this was going to be her big thing. I think identity politics, while they're not going away, I don't think it's going to completely go away. I think it definitely took a big hit. So that's my number 3 loser for the 2024 election. Number 2, celebrities. Celebrities do not have the impact they once had. They do not hold sway. All right. The world has changed. And this kind of plays a little bit into number 1, which we'll get to next. Yes, celebrities are out there. Yes, there are people who enjoy celebrities. There are people who enjoy their music or their entertainment value or whatever it is. But the days where celebrity worship meant I'm just going to do whatever they say when it comes to my politics. Yeah, I think those days are long gone. I'm sure these celebrity endorsements might have swayed a handful of people somewhere along the line, but I don't think for 1 minute any of these people we're going to see being mentioned here that supported Kamala and endorsed her, and most of them took a big paycheck and basically gave free concerts out uh, for that endorsement. Free, quote unquote, to the public, but not free for them. They got big paychecks from the Kamala campaign for it. I don't think they swayed many voters at all. I think they were wastes of money. I think this continues a general trend. You know, the idea that you can bring in celebrities and they're going to have the kind of influence they had in the past is just not true. So I think this took another hit.
Let's all choose Kamala Harris.
She first made a surprise appearance at the Democratic National Convention.
We won't be set back, pushed back, bullied back, kicked back. We're not going back.
Beyonce rallied for the VP in Houston and just dropped a big November surprise, channeling Pam Anderson in this Baywatch, Get Out the Vote music video.
You should let me ride shotgun, shotgun.
She unleashed the sexy new version of Bodyguard just as the clock struck Election Day, ending with the message, vote.
You should.
Katy Perry performed near Pittsburgh. After filling out her ballot, Christina Aguilera put her odds on Kamala in Vegas.
Makes me work a little bit.
I think Kamala Harris needs a catchphrase.
Ooh, yes.
And the stars of the Marvelverse assemble to get out the vote for Kamala.
Boom! You looking for this? Iron Man 2, everybody loved it.
Okay, again, I think we're just trying to get out the vote.
Kamala forever.
That's better.
All right. So does anybody really think those celebrities had any impact on the election? No, I don't think so. I think people showed up to Kamala events because she was giving away free concerts by them. I'll give you that. Or they were going to show up and talk. I think it probably drew crowds for her, but I don't think it swayed any votes of any consequence. And so that's why I think celebrities, number 2 on the list, big losers out of selection, celebrity endorsements. And finally, the biggest loser by far has to be the mainstream and the cable news. Their influence to control the narrative, to control the perspective of the electorate, to influence votes and thought processes has waned. Sure, they still have impact. They're not going away overnight. They're still going to have an impact, but they just don't have the influence they used to. You know, there were so many examples of this where they tried, and they tried and tried again. They believed in themselves, and they fed their people that consume their media a whole bunch of horse crap. And if that's the only media you consumed, you had a completely different view of the world than the people who are out there actually consuming information in different ways. Here we are on election night. Here's an example. Here we are on election night. Now, they have just called, I think this is NBC. I've got this on right. I think this is NBC News. They have just called Pennsylvania. They're admitting Trump has won, even though they still haven't formally reached 270. They're pretty much have admitted Trump will be the next president. They just literally just called Pennsylvania. So we're maybe a few minutes after it. And guess what we're going to talk about?
Something that Republicans are going to be thinking about.
Well, and here's the other point to remind people of. The Supreme Court issued a ruling that gave him immunity from all official acts. Prior to tonight, Donald Trump was facing three
Right.
legal battles.
Let's
and
talk
was
about the
also
let's talk about the lawfare.
He's got a
November 26th.
Right.
Correct.
Minutes after the
So
election's
there'll be a
been
lot of questions about how
accepted
all
that
of
he's
that
won.
will
There are two
unfold.
state
gonna be
cases with
all be about the
sentencing
lawfare.
case. The sentencing is in the New York State case, and then there are two federal cases which will functionally
Effectively
disappear.
go away,
I mean,
yeah.
they'll go away if he took office and they were still going. He could pardon himself. He could have a different attorney general. I mean, there's a million.
Etc. So that's where they're at, right? Trump has just won this historic election, the greatest comeback in political history, arguably in the United States anyway. He's returning to the White House, only the second man ever to win the presidency twice in non-consecutive terms. And what do they want to talk about? They want to talk about the things that they want to talk about the negative. They want to talk about, the lawfare, which most Americans clearly just rejected. Otherwise, Donald Trump would not be winning. Now, the NBC was not the worst of this. Please don't think that's just a video I put. They're actually one of the more milder ones. If you put on MSNBC that night, every time they mentioned Trump, they would talk about the 94 indictments, the 34 convictions, every single time. They've been doing it for all year, right? And it just didn't work. They don't have the control anymore. Information and news has been democratized thanks to things like YouTube and TikTok and social media. People are getting information in other ways and have been for quite some time. But there was a fundamental shift that happened. A couple things happened. One, you've been saying this crap about Trump now for 9 years. Boy who cried wolf. Anybody? You've been trying to beat him up. You've thrown everything at him for 9 years. No one's buying it anymore other than the people that are already on board, right? You're preaching to the choir with all this nonsense. You're just preaching. The people already believe it. Those are the people you're winning with. That's it. They're the people that are buying it. No one else is being swayed by it. And you don't have the influence you did, right? People can see through it. When you say something, when you try to turn that joke, bad joke at the Republican, that rally you had in Madison Square Garden, you guys tried to turn that, some of you, most of the mainstream, you tried to turn that as a big thing. And it's going to affect, Hispanic and Latino voters and Puerto Rican voters. They're all going to turn on Trump now, a couple days before election. Didn't happen. Wasn't going to happen. But you sure tried to make it happen, didn't you? You sure tried to. And your influence has waned. So you're the big losers, mainstream media. Mainstream media, cable news, you guys are the big losers. You're number one in my book. So there we have the four are the Obamas, identity politics, celebrities, mainstream media, and cable news. Those are the four for me. Those are the four big losers out of the 2024 election. Agree with them or not? Comment below. And if you like this kind of content, please subscribe and like and share. All right, everybody. Have a great night. I'm out.